Hello ladies and gentlemen, TX1 here, also known as Paul, bringing you another 8 in a day gameplay for the arcade mode of War Thunder. In today's instalment, we'll be reviewing the Ki-61-1b Otsu Hien. Now to give you a small historical overview on the Ki-61 and said iteration of the plane, the Kawasaki Ki-61 was developed by Kawasaki Aircraft Industries as their response to the late 1939 dual requirement laid out by the Imperial Japanese Naval Air Service Bureau, also known in Japanese as Koku Honburu. The requirement was for two fighters, one being an interceptor and one being a general purpose fighter. The Ki-61 was to be fielded as a response for a general purpose fighter. Additionally, the requirement had to be that either plane had to field the HA-40 engine, which was essentially a licensed version of the Daimler-Benz DB601A engine that had been loaned to Japan earlier on during the 1930s. Early trials showed that the Ki-61 was a very good plane, sacrificing some of the maneuverability that was seen in the Ki-43 for three additional factors: better armament in the form of originally two 12.7mm machine guns and two 7.7mm machine guns, better armour for the pilot, keeping them protected, and additionally self-sealing fuel tanks. Always at the cost of maneuverability, but these were three traits uncommon to Japanese fighters at that time. The original test flights began in December of 1941, and despite success and enjoyment by pilots, the Koku Honburu senior officials felt that the Ki-61 was not worth being put into service by comparison with the upgraded version of the Ki-43, the Ki-43-1. Still, the Ki-61 was to undergo service starting in April of 1943, beginning its combat history on the New Guinea front, up against the Allies. It was soon shown that the Ki-61 was able to match its foes in the form of the P-38 Lightning and the P-40 Warhawk, amongst others, quite well, being one of the first Japanese planes that could actually match a P-40 in a dive, catching a lot of American pilots off guard. However, the Ki-61 soon showed a lot of problems. There were two main problems. Firstly, the armament. The armament of two 7.7mm machine guns and two 12.7mm machine guns was deemed not enough, especially when going up against armoured fighters or heavier targets such as B-25 Mitchells. As a result, this was a problem that was never truly rectified, with the Kawasaki Bureau always having to keep up in the face of heavily armed opponents. Secondly, the engine. There were two problems with the engine. Firstly, it was very unreliable, with a number of pilots having difficulty mid-flight, and also the engine sometimes bursting into flames. Moreover, the engine was deemed as being underpowered despite the lightweight frame of the Ki-61, and so this had to be upgraded over the course of its history, all the way up to 1945. The version we see here, the Ki-61 Mark 1b, also known as the Otsu, was an upgrade from the original version in terms of both armament, fielding two extra 12.7mm machine guns in the wings, along with the original two 12.7mm machine guns above the prop, replacing the original two 7.7mm machine guns in the Mark 1A. Additionally, the retractable landing wheel at the back of the plane was fixed in terms of its mechanism, a problem that pilots found quite common to the original variant. However, the Otsu was soon to be replaced with later variants fielding cannons, both German, i.e. the Mauser MG151 20mm cannon, and Japanese 20mm equivalents. With our small historical overview out of the way, how exactly does the Ki-61 Mark 1b Otsu handle itself in War Thunder? Well, I'll start from the outset by saying that this is a plane which I've had trouble reviewing, not because it's a bad plane, but because of its battle rating. At 2.7, a lot of the games I've been into when I fielded the Ki-61 at the top of my player list, so my list of planes, has ended up with me going into games which are mostly facing biplanes and very basic monoplanes, including Lag-3s and early Spitfires. As a result, this has not been a very good representation of the plane. In order to push the plane to its limit and its maximum battle rating effective matchup, I've had to field it with my A6M2 Horizon. Ergo, in this review you're going to see me struggle to take down a lot of opponents, because the secondary factor is the armament. While it's four 12.7mm machine guns, the armament just feels a little bit lackluster. However, we've already seen in the opening clips of this video that we've been able to outmaneuver opponents that have come for us, both in the form of the P-63A King Cobra and that P-39Q Era Cobra. Additionally, our armament allowed us to set that Yak-9T on fire, and I believe that set us up for our first kill. The map we're on is Green Ridge, a ground strike map, and the setup I'm using is as follows: a 30-minute fuel load with 300m gun convergence and air target ammunition in the machine guns. As you're going to see, this gameplay is a very long one, and the 30-minute fuel load really does come in hand towards the end of this match. So, I've already said that I've had difficulty in reviewing this plane simply because of the matchup. Now, this is not to say that you should field this plane with, say, a Ryzen at the top of your list. If you do decide to field this plane at the top of your list, you will occasionally see battle rating 3.7 planes, such as the Ryzen, Era Cobras, or just high battle rating planes in general. Yet you are more likely to go up against Hurricane Mark IIs, Spitfire Mark Is, Mark IIAs, etc. This plane is a brilliant plane regardless of what enemy fighter you go up against. And this is on two grounds. Firstly, the acceleration of the plane. The Daimler-Benz engine that you have, the Daimler-Benz 601A, or the Japanese equivalent, the HA40, is quite good in terms of its power to weight ratio. And as a result, in game, you can accelerate incredibly well. I do some damage to that P-39Q5, and unfortunately I take team damage from a friendly LA5. It was silly really, I was just trying to jump in to grab an assist, and I shouldn't have done that. As a result, I've been rewarded with damage to the right hand side of my plane in terms of the wing, and also the main fuselage. But returning to our point, as well as brilliant engine power, which means you can accelerate very well, and additionally climb rather well, you also have one of the most manoeuvrable planes for its rank. I'm going to say this now, the Ki-61 Otsu can go up against pretty much any foe and dogfight with them effectively, minus an A6M2 Ryzen, or a Ki-43 if that still turns as well as it used to, although don't quote me on that. When you can't outturn your foe, such as a Spitfire, what you can do is use your rudder in order to cut in tight to them, or you can use your engine to break away. And again, a King Cobra comes directly at us, and it's no problem, we can just flex ourselves out of the way by going under and over, and carry on, while we're in the middle of a furball. I hate being in a furball with the Ki-61, because I'll come on to some of the weaknesses in a minute. But because of your manoeuvrability, it means that you can go into furballs and dodge a lot of incoming fire, especially in head-ons. Moreover, as I was saying, when your foe's able to outturn you, you can use your rudder and your engine power in order to either break in tight towards them or run away. And as this King Cobra decides to try climbing to put out their fire, I achieve my second kill. Technically that should not be my kill, because I did not set them on fire and I did none of the critical damage. However, as you're going to see in a minute, karma does work its way into this game somewhat, in the form of this LA5 I believe. Now as they break upwards, I engage them, opening fire with all four machine guns and taking out their tail control. Continuing in my relentless aggression, I let them go. Now, that would have been a kill for me of course, however one of my teammates in a Yak-9K takes them out. So really we can say that the kill on the King Cobra, which was not ours, has just been replaced with the kill on the LA5, which should have been ours. So with 2 kills in the bag and a number of assists already in action, let's go on to some of the weaknesses of the Ki-61. There are 2 main weaknesses with this plane. The most common and notable weakness is in the form of its durability. Now by comparison with the Ki-43 or the A6M2, the Ki-61 is a lot more durable in my opinion. There is a significant amount of armour I've noticed around the cockpit, and so pilot knockouts are a lot less frequent than I would have expected. However, this does not mean that this is a brilliant plane to go up against bombers. Even planes such as the Heinkel 111 H3 and H6 can rip you to pieces if you're behind them for long enough, by comparison with say if you engaged them in a Spitfire Mark II. Of course, this means that going after bombers, especially of your limited armament, which is the second weakness, is something you should be very wary of. While you have 4 12.7mm machine guns, I found that they really do lack a punch by comparison with, say, American 50 cals. Now, I'm not going into any historical detail here why that might be, and again we dodge that IL-2 decides to come at us directly, making great use of our maneuverability with speed, and even at lower speed, and using our rudder to brake round on them. But going back to my point on the armament feels rather weak, and as a result that makes the plane rather ineffective at taking out more heavily armoured targets. Still, if you're relentless enough and you can take out gunners, then you'll be able to sit behind the enemy bomber, or indeed ground attacker, without problems. And as you can see here, we've been able to break the tail control of this IL-2, and as they spiral in towards the ground, we're able to continually follow them and put them out of their misery, achieving kill number 3. So with the weaknesses of durability and armament considered, another good question would be, does this plane catch fire very often? Are my eyes come afire when I engage this P-39? As you can see, they're going much too fast for us to get a significant hit on them. So as a result I decide to pursue, and hopefully get them off the back of this friendly IJAAF in front of me. As the pair brake round, I catch the P-39N as they pass me, and again we can make use of our very tight turn circle by comparison with the Ergo and our maneuverability to stick ourselves right behind on their tail and make sure they can't get away. Continuing to follow them, I open fire with the machine guns once again, and while we're getting a good number of hits, we're just not quite dealing the damage we may expect. However, that's where you've got to be very relentless in this plane. Once you're on the back of someone, you will need to keep putting the bullets in so they simply go down. It may be instant, it may take forever, but in the end they will falter and fall. Having done all the damage to the Ergo, and with our friendly IJAAF now in a position to take them out, I decide to break off and allow my teammate to finish off. I would have been grateful for the kill, however I'm not one to complain. Having achieved our 3rd assist I believe, and we're still on 3 kills, ergo we're 3 for 3, it's now time to come on to the concept of the plane catching fire again, seeing as I rambled on a bit. The plane will catch fire in the wings quite easily, and I've noted that by comparison when I've chased enemy bombers, such as B-25 Mitchells. However, if you do catch fire, it will go out quite quickly, and that's probably due to the fact that this plane historically had self-sealing fuel tanks. I'm not quoting any historical facts in terms of how the fire gets put out in game, I'm just pointing out my experience with this plane. Moreover, there's something very important to consider. When you get hit, you are most likely going to lose some of your fuel. Now, I've had a number of games when I've been flying with a 30-minute fuel load, and I've been hitting the main fuselage, to the point where it's quite dark red, as shown in the little plane icon on the left of your screen. As a result, I've sometimes lost up to 20 minutes of fuel in a very quick period of time, just because it would seem if this plane gets riddled with even a couple of bullet holes, you start to lose a lot of fuel. Ergo, that is something to be wary of, especially in games which go on for longer, and that's why I'm quite happy that I always choose to use a 30-minute fuel load. With that all being said, however, the Ki-61 has some redeeming features. For those who are new to War Thunder, or rather new to the Japanese line, if you're not looking to fly the A6M2 Horizon and you want to instead focus on the more army-based aircraft, then the Ki-61 Otsu is a brilliant plane to get to grips with things, simply because you're not at a major advantage in terms of your armament. Excuse me. Pardon me. You're not at a major advantage in terms of your armament, but at the same time you're not at a major disadvantage in terms of your maneuverability. Ergo, this is a brilliant plane to learn how to chase someone effectively. And as I dive into another minor furball, I try to keep my eyes on this P-36G Curtiss Hawk, who's on the tail of one of my teammates. As we can see, everyone's breaking up, and so I follow suit, achieving a nice critical hit on the P-36G Hawk and coming in right behind them. We managed to bleed our speed effectively with our combat flaps, and now I'm able to put in the finishing touches, doing damage to both the left and right wings. As I continue behind them, I notice there are a number of planes coming through, and with oil covering my screen I decide to set them on fire and leave the P-36G to its fate, achieving my 4th kill. Still, we're not quite in the clear yet, because the battle has moved to underneath the enemy spawn, and so I'm being very wary at this point to keep checking my tail, and that's something you're going to have to do a lot of in the Ki-61, because I've found that this is a plane which, for the more experienced and veteran player, does probably one of the best one-on-one planes in the world. Sorry, performs as one of the best one-on-one planes in the game. Reason being, you've got so much flexibility with this plane, it's beyond apprehension. As I was saying earlier, if your foe can outturn you, you can use your rudder and your engine power in order to either break away or make very sharp turns on your foe. Meanwhile, if your foe can outclimb you, you can always keep behind them due to your lightweight frame, which gives you quite a low stall speed. Ergo, you'll never truly have a weakness in a given matchup. And speaking of exploiting weaknesses, I decided to descend on this Ki-63-A King Cobra in order to try and get them off my ally's tail and achieve my ace. As you can see, as they roll, we're able to roll with them perfectly, and it's enough with that critical hit to put them down into the harbour, achieving our ace. And it's at this point I get so jubilant that I start waving my wings, I believe. After doing a little bit of checking to make sure I'm not going to get shot down. Okay, perhaps I'm not going to wave my wings. Still, it's at this point I decide to go for a reload, and really that is the end of this match. From here on in, the only enemy planes left are high altitude bombers and fighters, and ergo I decide just to fly away and head back towards our airfield to make sure there's no enemy planes there, before heading back over towards the enemy spawn. Yet at this point I'm being very cautious simply because I've only got 8 minutes of fuel left, and as you're going to see shortly, I actually have less fuel than I do time in the game left. Any other points to note on the Ki-61? One thing that's very crucial to note is if you take any damage whatsoever in this plane, instantly your performance characteristics are altered dramatically. I was quite fortunate in this game to only take damage to my right wing, and as you can see here I'm checking the time left on the top left of the screen and trying to factor in my fuel load by dropping my throttle to 80%. But as I was saying about performance altering characteristics, if you take any damage in this plane, such as if you take damage to your wings, your roll rate will be hampered. If you take damage to your tail section, your ability to pull up on the stick at the most crucial moment fades away quite rapidly. You won't be able to pull up as sharply. And as I was saying, I was quite fortunate in this game that I took only damage on my right wing and not on the aileron section. If I had, then my roll rate would have been compromised and I would not have been able to roll with and take down either that Illusion 2 or the Ki-63-A King Cobra, as you saw towards the end. Any other points to note? Well, I said about the fact you've got a low stall speed, and this means that if you go into a high tier matchup against planes such as Messerschmitt 109 F4s, Focke-Wulf 190 A1s, P-47D Thunderbolts, it's actually quite easy for you not to outclimb them per se, but to be able to climb with them at the start of a game. This plane is not the best climber, however what you can do is really work the war emergency power and indeed a decent climb angle in order to get up to 5,000 meters with your opponent and engage them on a head-to-head one-on-one basis. And as I said, if you can get this plane into a one-on-one engagement and you're seasoned with this plane, anyone you go up against, you should be able to put them down, so long as in that opening salvo that you both exchange, you don't take any significant hits on any of your control surfaces. A number of times I've confronted 109s up high and I've been able to take them down quite quickly because in a one-on-one this plane does very well. Of course, that's a double-edged sword, because as soon as you get someone else on your tail, this plane really does suffer, just because as soon as it starts getting hit, it falls away. But we've already gone over that. And so really, there's nothing else to mention concerning this plane. And so I'm now going to fast forward towards the stat screen, which you'll see shortly. So, on reflection, how did we do during that game? Well, we firstly earned our new camouflage for the plane. Additionally, we got 5 kills and 3 assists. leading to a haul of just shy of 11,500 silver lions and 1,039 research points. This gameplay was taken with a high battle rating, and as a result this is perhaps not truly reflective of the matches you may go into using the Ki-61 Otsu. However, what this gameplay reflects in my opinion is how well this plane handles itself when up against more powerful foes. Your armament's not great. It's effective as long as you're relentless in your pursuit. However, in order to get your armament on target, you're going to make use of probably one of the most manoeuvrable planes in the game for its battle rating. And that is where this plane shines, because once you've mastered this plane, in my opinion, you've mastered the majority of what's to come in the Japanese. And moreover, you've mastered the majority of the techniques you can use in more manoeuvrable planes of other nations. We did well. And really, this plane is made to pursue fighters. Try to solo out individuals and engage them on a one-on-one basis, because that's where you're at your top tier performance. By looking at our score by comparison with our teammates, we see we come 5th, which wasn't too bad, and we played our part despite losing the mission. Still, this Tony is absolutely terrific in the hands of a more seasoned pilot, yet even a novice will be able to do well eventually with a bit of practice and polish. Ergo, I've been TX141, and if you've enjoyed this video, why not leave a like, comment or subscribe for future War Thunder videos on my channel. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, take care and good luck in the skies!